Well, welcome back. Here we are for day 3, and today I'm going to talk about the science and the thought behind the VIGORESS training programs. So whether you're doing the VIGORESS fundamentals, the team program, or even one of the other options like the high frequency and the rags and mud program, they all have a methodical kind of plan behind them where each week builds on the previous week. And even for someone who would jump in right in the middle of a particular block of training, they would be able to progress week after week after week as well. Matter of fact, one of the ways that I had originally thought about setting up VIGORESS is that someone would be able to sign up on any given day, any time of the year. That's how the programming is designed. However, the reason that I didn't do that is I wanted people to be able to start as a collective group together. And I also didn't want to spend too much of my own thought process or my own mind around marketing and promoting the registrations for VIGORESS. I figured, why not just condense all of that into just a few times per year, and then the rest of the time focus on creating content and support for the VIGORESS Facebook group. For members, I will be unveiling or sending out some members-only content periodically. So by limiting registration to just a few times a year, it gives me more time to invest in creating content for you. But my point is that with the programming, let's say that you're doing the fundamentals program for 3 months, whenever you decide that you're ready to join the VIGORESS training, the VIGORESS team training, you can do that. You can just jump right in and you'll be able to progress from one week to the next. But the way that I look at it is, I tend to think of a calendar year, so 12 months. And then within those 12 months, I'll break up a block of training into 8 to 16 week chunks. And that 8 to 16 week period of time will have a focus on a more targeted area of fitness and metabolism. For example, it might be to focus on building muscle, which is called hypertrophy, for a certain period of time. And then it might be more focused strictly on strength or power or speed, to be able to have you doing some sprints and jumping around from time to time. There's ways that I will weave that into the course of a year, but I do it in a way where you shouldn't end up overtraining or under-recovering. It's intended to help you avoid and minimize the chance of injuries. And in addition to that, my goal is to have you be as healthy and fit as possible for as long as possible in your life. So where I see some of the training programs sort of misleading people is in the idea of constantly doing high intensity exercise, very short rest periods between sets, tons of reps when they're doing their programming, or in the case of CrossFit, they're doing powerful movements like power cleans and clean and jerks and kipping pull-ups and all of this stuff. And while there's a time and a place for it for someone who's fit and ready for that style of training, it isn't something that most people should be doing on a regular basis. It does dramatically increase the risk of injury, and in my opinion, it has less of an effect on really building muscle, bone density, supporting the metabolism. And my goal isn't to, in the VIGORESS team program and the VIGORESS fundamentals, it isn't to make you an athlete ready to compete in the CrossFit Games. If you were looking for something like that, I could do a custom program for you. But the idea here is to make you feel great on a daily basis and to help you feel better and better over time. And so what a lot of the training will focus on is compound movements, meaning you're moving more than one muscle group at a time or more than one joint at a time. Like doing a push-up is a compound movement, whereas doing a chest fly, like you'll see in a lot of women's magazines, it is really only focusing on the chest and a little bit of the front shoulders. And there's not too much activity that we do on a daily basis in the real world where we're just doing this sort of a movement, but we are pushing, we are pulling, we are lifting stuff up overhead, we are bending down and picking up a couple bags of groceries and carrying them from the car into the house or from the grocery store into the car. So those sorts of movements have a very real effect on the rest of your day. If you wanted to play softball, if you wanted to play volleyball, if you wanted to just run around with the kids after work or play catch, to be able to run after a ball when it's thrown from your grandson or your granddaughter who hasn't learned to control their arm yet, and it's way over here, you have to be able to lunge at that ball. And so what you'll see is the movements, although you may not think of them in the context of everyday life, they are designed to have you be as mobile and strong as possible and powerful as possible over time. Now, you're not going to get there in a day. You're not going to get there in a week or even a month. You might not get there in a year, but you will be in far better shape and feeling better a year from now than you are today. One other thing that I want to do as far as setting expectations for the workouts is it's very rare, and there will be some workouts periodically, but it's very rare that a training session should leave you feeling like you're ready to fall over on the floor. I don't design programs that way. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of workouts where you're going to feel like, I don't know if I did enough. Maybe I should do a little bit more. Maybe I should do some extra lunges, or instead of 10 minutes of cardio, I'm going to do 30 minutes of cardio. Don't do that. Resist the urge to do more. The whole point of exercise is to be a stimulus to cause your body to change. And once you've stimulated that change, you don't have to do any more than that. Doing more only leads to an increased risk of injury and fatigue, whether that's physical or mental fatigue. So most workouts, you may feel like you had a little bit left over. Some workouts you won't. Some you're going to feel really worn out and tired and taxed. But for the most part, if you feel like you could do more, don't do more. Just stick with what's on the plan for the day. A couple other things with the programming, and I mentioned this on day one, is you aren't going to be competent in all of the movements. It's going to take practice. It's going to take body awareness. When someone steps down to do a reverse lunge, they may not even feel their glute working because they haven't done anything for years where their glute's been very involved. So it's fatigued. Maybe your butt's just flat as a pancake. And the goal over time is to connect your mind, or connect your brain, your nervous system, with the muscles that are supposed to be firing when you do a certain movement. So in the case of a lunge, your hamstrings and your glutes are going to be heavily involved in that movement as you step back and you lower your back knee down towards the floor. In the beginning, because you haven't made that mind-muscle connection, you might feel it a ton in the quads, and you're going to lean over more than you're supposed to. There's going to be all this stuff where you feel like you're doing the workout, the exercise correctly, but you're really not, and you're not going to feel it in the right spot. Just the fact that you don't feel it in the right spot is a good sign because you're becoming more aware of it. But I would also encourage you from time to time to just set your smartphone over off to the side, or just get a cheap little tripod like these you can probably pick up for $5 somewhere, and you can set it alongside you and record yourself doing that movement, and then post it in the VIGORESS Facebook group, and can provide some insights or maybe some mental cues that you can think about. For example, when somebody's doing a squat or a lunge, oftentimes I'll remind them, keep your weight in the back half of your foot. Over time, you can place your weight in your whole foot, and you're going to get the muscles to work appropriately. But that little cue of, hey, sit back on your heels a little bit as you're lunging and you're stepping backwards, that's enough to get their glute to function a little bit better. And over time, they get stronger and stronger with that. So, number one, resist the urge to do more than what's recommended on there. Number 2, please take the time to record a video periodically. The third thing that I wanted to make mention of is you aren't going to see a ton of cardio. And I know when I say this, even though part of you wants to believe it, there's another part of you that's been taught over the last couple of decades that you've got to do a ton of cardio in order to burn fat. And I will tell you that is not the truth. When you do a lot of cardiovascular exercise, you tend to eat more. And that just offsets any calorie effect that the cardio would have had in terms of trying to help you manage your body fat. When I use cardiovascular exercise, or when it's part of your program, you'll often see it at the end of your workout as a way to help kind of cool your body down, get the blood flowing a little bit, and just get you ready to move on to your next thing for the day. And it might be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. It won't be very long. Or it might be an active recovery kind of workout on the weekend, where you're going to go 30 minutes, whatever you want to do, like go for a bike ride, go for a walk or a jog or a hike or whatever the case is. But I'm not going to have you do a lot of running or higher intensity cardio. One, because it isn't going to help you get leaner, at least not in the beginning. The people that get the most benefit out of using cardio are those that are kind of towards the end of their body fat loss goals. So it's like when they've got those last 10 pounds to lose, we can use cardio periodically. The other reason that I don't like to have people do it is your body is pretty smart. And if you're doing a bunch of cardio and you're burning 400 extra calories from that, your body adjusts its metabolism and helps you to burn 400 calories less to conserve energy from what you expended. Or your cravings will go up so that you eat 400 calories more. Now, I'm not big on the calorie balance equation, because if you're eating a high protein diet, you're keeping your carbohydrates controlled, and you're doing strength training, the calorie thing just doesn't work out the same way as it does when you're eating a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet and doing a lot of cardio. Most men and women can eat more than they're accustomed to, and they can still get leaner as long as they're not doing an excessive amount of cardio or they're not doing too much for carbohydrates. So with all of that being said, those are kind of some of the basics of exercise. One of my goals is to try to keep this as simple as possible for you. So my objective in today's lesson was just to give you enough confidence to just follow the program. And if you do just that, you don't have to remember anything that I talked about here. You don't have to go and read books on exercise science in order to get more out of the program. You just have to follow it. And so my goal again was to give you the confidence that you need to say, hey, I've planned this for you because I want it to work. And it's not going to be an overnight thing, and it's not going to be the same as what you've experienced before that may or may not have worked. But if you follow the program, if you work the program will work for you. The workouts will work for you. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up day 3, and then we'll be back tomorrow with some simplified nutrition for you in day 4. Have a fantastic day.